We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are and whenever you are watching this podcast. We thank you for joining us. And Jackie, oh my goodness, we are approaching 200. We're just a few off yet of 200 Fun Chats. And I look and I think back on those times that we've recorded and everything we've learned about the 1950s. And it hasn't only been the stories of people who lived in the 50s, but we've also talked to CEOs of events that occurred in the 1950s and are still ongoing. What changes happened? Why even in North Dakota, for instance, was there an old red trail, and what's the history behind it, and is it still ongoing? But today we're visiting with a wonderful lady from the state of Ohio. Tell us about her, Jackie.
Okay, well, before I do that, folks, those who are viewing, please take a look at the bottom, that purple banner that has www.whilethewindmillwatch.com running across the bottom. Please go to that site, and for all sorts of information about the authors of that book, which you see up in the corner, While the Windmill Watched, A Slice of Rural America in the 1950s. You'll see the vendors, and you will see the dates and occasions and locations of where we will be book signing or appearing in one way or another. And also you'll see the 1950s Fun Chats, all of the ones previous to this one. So there are many hours of viewing to further your education of the 1950s. But today we are going to continue here. So with this next guest, we continue hearing from folks from different areas of the United States on the topic of life in the 1950s. So Darlene Hare is our first guest to have been born in Kentucky, Somerset, Kentucky to be exact. Her dad was in the Army in 1944 when she arrived, so she was finally able to meet him 2 years later. When he left the Army, the family moved to several towns in Ohio, settling in Norwood, Ohio. Darlene graduated from Norwood High School in 1962, and during her senior year, she was offered an opportunity which changed the direction of her life. Darlene married in 1964, but unfortunately, her husband died of cancer 4 years later when their son, David, was only 18 months old. She married Bob in 1971. In October, they will be married 54 years. They reside on a farm near Winchester, Ohio. And Darlene, we welcome you to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Darlene.
You're welcome. We're glad you're here. So I understand that you spent all of your school-age summers at your grandparents' farm. So how did that affect your adult life?
Well, I actually spent every summer from the time I started school until I graduated high school at my grandparents' farm it was about 10 miles maybe north of Somerset, a little place called Science Hill. And that's where I got my love of animals from being on that farm. I learned to milk cows. I didn't really work them like we do today. It was a little different back then. They never had any chutes or anything like that. They just got them in the barn and did whatever. They lassoed them, I suppose. I don't remember that part. I just did the easy part. And they had chickens, and I loved the chickens. And that's where my life was back when I was growing up.
Okay.
Yes. You bonded with those animals very easily then.
I did. Oh, yeah.
Did you have a special chicken?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay.
Well, so let's move on to your later years in school, and tell us about the training you had during your senior high school, which subsequently led to a satisfactory 34-year period of employment.
Well, I was in I'm not sure, but I think it was called the technical school. It was connected with our high school physically, but you could do, I learned typing, shorthand, and that sort of thing. And then in my senior year, Procter and Gamble, the ones that makes the Bounty towels and the Tide soap, etc., Ivory soap bars, they came to our school and did testing. And then I was chosen as one of the ones to go to what they called Saturday training program. And I was paid for it, but I went like 2 months before I graduated from high school. And when I graduated, then I had a job there at Procter & Gamble in 1962. And I worked for 34 years for them.
Wow. What was, shorthand is kind of an old-timey type of communication.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember any of it? Or was
I
it
use it today.
really? Cool.
Oh, yeah. Bob and I are involved in a lot of organizations, and I just sit there and do my little shorthand. That's not all of it, but much of it. And my kids used to get so aggravated because guess what I used to put in shorthand? Their Christmas list.
Oh,
Yeah, their Christmas list. They did not like that.
yes. Oh, I think Jackie took shorthand in high school.
I did, and I still use a few brief forms. I do.
There you go. Yeah.
And it's almost like a foreign language. I remember when we went to our grandparents' homes, if they didn't want us to know of anything, they spoke in German. So anyway, shorthand can also be a nice thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So can you name a highlight or think of anything that was really outstanding during those 34 years, positive or negative, that you would like to share?
No, I guess just friends that I made, over the years. And we are still friends with them. We go to lunch with a lot of our P&G friends as time allows. And it's just, we've lost a lot of them in the last few years, and that's sad. But we still have a lot that we're very, very close to. That would be my highlight, I guess.
Well, so you say we, and a highlight must have been meeting Bob there. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, Bob and I went to school together, but we were on different paths. And so when my first husband passed away, they asked me, I worked downtown Cincinnati at the time, and they asked me if there was anything that they could do to help me. And I said, if you could get me out to one of the other locations other than downtown, it would help me, because I had to take my son to my mom's, which was a good 30 minutes away every morning. So down there and back. And then I would catch my carpool at carpools back those days.
Sure.
And I would go to work and then have to do the same thing when I got home. So they transferred me out to what they called Winton Hills Technical Center in the International Division. And guess what? Bob Hare worked there. So we went from there. We started dating and got married. And that's how it started.
That's how it started.
Darlene, in those 34 years that you worked at Procter and Gamble, tell us of some of the changes in your work requirements, or how you went about doing your work.
Well, we did have electric typewriters, but no computers back then when I started. And we had, I don't know if either one of you are familiar, but we had Copyflex paper. It was orange, and you put that behind your regular paper.
Paper, yeah.
And the orange would come up on it. And then I've been trying to think of the name of the equipment that we would run it through to get copies.
Well, like a mimeograph machine?
Possibly, something like that. But anyway, it was pretty interesting. And so that was the first. And then I really can't remember, but I think it was probably about 19 in the early 80s that I got my first computer at Procter & Gamble, and we used they were about 6-inch squares. They called them floppy disk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we used when we first began.
Yes. Were you in a pool of secretaries or of typists when you started, or were you always at your own desk in a certain office?
I was in a pool in the beginning, and
Uh-huh.
then also when I was transferred out to Winton Hill, I was in a pool
Oh, okay.
and applied for that job
Mm-hmm.
and got it, and that's how I ended up at Winton Hill.
Okay. What was there anything else that if you took so well to typing in shorthand? Was there ever anything else that you thought you might do with your life back then?
Oh, I would have loved to have been a stewardess because I love to travel. But
Okay.
that
Mhm.
ship sailed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Airship it was ours.
Well, there's always a future in something somewhere, right?
Yes, yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, knowing you now as I do from the livestock industry,
Uh-huh.
that's certainly the influence of being at your grandparents' farm really went to your heart and became part of who you were.
Yes.
And how did that then affect your life after you married Bob?
Well, at the time, Bob was involved in the Beagles, and he was judging a lot. So we would go, you know, all over the country doing that. And then when my son David became 4-H age, um, he wanted to show an animal. So we had friends showing beef cattle. So that's how we got started. And we lived at New Richmond at the time, and that was prior to us moving up here in Winchester. So we started into the 4-H, and it just kind of overwhelmed us. And here we are today. We're still both. He's almost 83, and I'm 81, and we're still 4-H advisors. Okay.
Good for
Oh
you.
yeah.
Was there 4-H in your family background?
None in mine, none whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
No.
Yeah. Sometimes that just it's like a heritage. It just
Yeah.
goes on from one generation to the next.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's going with our family because our son showed, David showed, his son Shane showed, and now we have a great grandson showing.
Aha.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Nice girl. Keep it up.
Do you keep any of those animals at your place?
yes we do. We're Jace's parents are not together, so they don't have a place for him. So
Mhm.
we keep his cattle here at our farm,
Mhm.
and they come up in the evenings. Uh, we haven't got them in the barn yet, um, but we'll be getting them in fairly soon, sometime next month, and
Okay.
get them halter broken. And I,
Yes.
I can't remember. I think the check-in date is July 9th,
Oh,
like that. It's a little ways away, but
yes.
I have to be able to lead them off of the trailer
Uh-huh.
to get them into the chute over at the fairgrounds to tag them in.
Yeah. Can you tell tell our viewers what is involved with showing a beef cattle?
Oh my gosh, hours and hours and hours of work. Uh, you should rinse at least once a day. Some people manage to do it twice, um, but they rinse, they blow dry, they brush, they brush, they brush. Just
And the purpose of that is for what?
to grow their hair, to make their hair lay down so they can groom them.
Okay. And is there a certain look that that the goal you're trying to meet when you go do all that work?
Oh yeah. Well, sometimes they might have a fault, and so you try.
Mhm.
Sometimes with that hair, you
Yeah.
can grow it and not trim as much in that spot, and maybe it'll even out their back. Maybe, for instance,
Mhm.
make their back more level. That sort of thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Are those tricks that you, no, I don't want to say tricks, methods that you have used as you've learned to work with in the 4-H program and work with livestock? Or how did you know to do that?
Friends.
Mm.
The
Mhm.
very first year that David showed, well, we had friends in our 4-H club, but a lady that we worked with, her boys were a little older than David, and they were very successful. And of course, you weren't allowed to help. No outsiders could help. So they came and sat on a gate and told Bob and Dave how to groom that very first calf. So we went from that we showed at Louisville, we showed at the Pennsylvania Farm Show.
Mhm.
Um, we didn't go a whole lot, but those were two of the places that David got to go.
What do you think is the most valued quality that you can learn from showing livestock?
Oh my. Maybe number one is how to take care of animals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Number two is the friendships that you make, the camaraderie, just like us and you, Janine.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes on for years.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
right.
and I think you mentioned one other thing: people helping people without
Yeah,
any, just because of kindness.
exactly. That's exactly what happens. Yep, yep.
Well, and you also have to think too that you've got that animal to care for a number of weeks and months, and
Yep,
it takes a lot of perseverance and dedication
it
to
does. Yep.
that project to make it succeed. And hopefully, those are qualities that are instilled in a youngster's
And
life.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time our grandson Shane won. He won the goat show at our county fair, and when he came out of the ring, he said, "Papa, hard work sure does pay off."
Ah, neat. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
great. That and then what a wonderful memory, and that you're recalling it for us today.
Oh
Thank
yeah, yeah.
you.
So
He's
speaking of
34
memories,
now.
oh,
Excuse me.
He's 34 now, so it was a
Oh,
while ago.
a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of memories, you mentioned something to me about learning to drive. When you were learning to drive, what was one of the result of your learning to drive a vehicle?
Well, I learned to drive. My mom had younger brothers. The youngest one was 3 years older than me, and they took me out on the gravel road that my grandparents lived on, and they taught me to drive a standard shift on a tractor.
Mhm.
And that was how I learned to drive the standard shift. And I still do it today. Uh,
mhm.
Not my choice. I'd rather have an automatic, but I can still do it.
Sure.
And then from there, when I learned to drive in a car, my mom and my sister and I went on many, many vacations. We were Elvis freaks. So,
Okay.
yep. so,
Okay.
so we went to Memphis. First 17 years after he died, on the day of his anniversary, they have they have parades and all kinds of special things. And so we did that, and then but we went to Gatlinburg and
Oh.
Florida, Colorado, California, just
My,
lots of driving.
yeah.
Mhm.
Did going Elvis, 1950s. Okay, what
Oh,
first drew you to Elvis?
I don't know. We just liked him. I don't like his
Mhm.
music, and of course, he was cute as could be.
Did you go to any of his concerts?
I did. Bob took me to one at this what they call Cincinnati Gardens. He and his mom and another friend went.
Mhm.
I can't tell you the year, but it was, I don't know, probably early mid 60s maybe. And then the year that he died, I went with some friends to Louisville, down where they show the cattle, and
Mm.
and I saw him there in June, and then he died in August.
Oh.
So I only got
Oh,
to see him twice.
okay.
Mhm.
Did
Yeah.
you, what I remember, the big thing back then was our parents or our grandparents' generation could hardly stand the moves that Elvis made on stage.
Exactly. Yes, they
Yeah.
did.
They were
They
too
did not like.
suggestive.
Yes. Did were you ever cautioned about that from the older generation?
No, no,
Oh, cool.
no, not at all.
And
Okay.
what a difference in music that he brought, and of course the rock and rollers brought to that
Sure.
to teenagers of that time versus what was popular 10 years ahead of that too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Were there ever any other rock and roll stars that you liked?
Oh yeah. Ricky Nelson.
Yeah.
He
Well,
was
he was kind of a heartthrob.
he was one of my heartthrobs, yes.
And what about Fabian?
Yep. I liked
Remember
him
him?
too. I
Mhm.
never got to see any of them.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
They just didn't have concerts like they do today.
Yes, right. There were few.
Did you
Nor
watch?
did I have the money. So
Yeah. Did you watch American Bandstand?
I did. Yep. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's we'd get home from school and we'd turn on TV.
Turn that
Mhm.
TV on. Yep. Yep.
Yes.
The black and white TV.
Yeah. Once we got over the Mickey Mouse Club stage, that's what we went to.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're going to go to another topic now. So I'd like to
Okay.
know, how did having a World War II veteran as a father affect your life?
Well, I was too little to remember, like I said, I
Two.
never
Right.
he didn't see me till I was 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I honestly don't remember much of that, and he never talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, but I never asked him questions.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was in Okinawa. He was in Iwo Jima. He's got some pictures. I believe it was when he was in Iwo Jima. He's got a picture of a monkey sitting on his shoulder. I guess they were wild monkeys. I don't
Oh.
know.
Ah.
But I do remember that. But he
Mhm.
never talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
So did he come home when the war had ended, or was his time up before the war had ended?
I don't know, but I think he came home after it ended.
Okay. Yes.
And was
Yes.
he always in Japan, in that area of the world? You
To
know?
my knowledge, yeah. And I can tell you, he would not go on a cruise ship for love nor money because he went over there on a ship and was seasick the whole time
Oh.
there. So boats did not interest him except if he was fishing. Then,
Oh, then he'd endure, huh?
yeah, right.
Did he ever take you fishing as a little girl?
Oh, yeah, fishing. And he went up to Lake Erie a lot.
Oh, okay.
He had a fishing boat and went up there a lot. And I also went bear hunting with him one time.
Whoa.
That was a little scary.
Yes. Did he shoot a bear?
No, we heard one, but it did never come in sight.
Okay.
It was up in Maine. We
Oh.
camped up there.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Did he ever hunt moose?
Yes, he was a big time hunter. He hunted a lot in Colorado and out west out there. My mom has a sister in Colorado, so they would go out there every fall, and Dad would deer hunt and whatever else was in season, usually in October.
Okay, so then that would supply your food for
Oh yeah,
winter. Okay.
Did he have a buddy to hunt with him, or was he always alone?
lots of them.
Ah.
Lots of he had brothers that hunted with him. Just all kinds of hunting. His brothers were more coon hunters. If my dad ever went coon hunting, I don't know it.
Yeah. Okay, so when people go coon hunting, why do you eat coon?
No, they sold the pelts back then.
Oh.
But today they're not worth anything. So coons are just rampant around here, and some of my uncles would go to Iowa with the big cornfields because the coons were destroying the corn, and they would go. The farmers out there would pay them to shoot their coons, and then of course they got the pelts, so it was a win-win situation for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So,
those,
excuse me, wasn't there a time, well, maybe it was the 20s, so you need to correct me on this, when people wore coonskin coats as a fad?
Oh yeah, and hats. Daniel Boone, David Crockett. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I meant more modern times, like in the 20s. Is that, Janine, is that it?
Well, it sounds right, but without doing some checking, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I don't either.
But the pelts had to be used for something if
Yeah.
they were being paid for them. So I guess
Right.
that's something we would Google. I just remember the neighbor boys. This was after the 50s. That's when they were being in North Dakota. There was a research project, I guess it was going on for snakes with garter snakes, and our neighbor boys would catch them and they'd put them in this big 50-gallon barrel, and then they'd take them into wherever. And I thought, oh, good grief.
Really, that wouldn't be fun.
No. Yeah,
For me.
that's right. Well, Darlene, when I'm going to go back to the 50s again, in the 60s. And during special holidays, were there any traditions that occurred that you now carry on with in your family?
Well, we always got together with my dad's family at Thanksgiving and at Christmas. Usually, well, when my grandma was alive, of course, it was at Grandma and Grandpa's house. But then later on, after they passed away, my one aunt had a big house and a big basement, and we would have Thanksgiving and Easter at her house. Okay. And then on my mom's family, we always got together at Christmas time. And we still do, but not like we used to. The family got big, of course, and all but one of my mom's brothers and sisters she only has one living now.
Okay.
And they don't like to drive at night, so we're trying to figure out something, if we could have something, maybe on a Sunday afternoon or something around Christmas time. That was always a big deal with my family on my mom's side.
Were there gifts given, exchanged, or was it mainly getting together for conversation and eating?
Just to get together and visit. Yeah.
Yes. Did you have a favorite Christmas gift back then?
I remember getting a transistor radio.
Whoa!
Yeah, it was turquoise.
Yeah. Must have been the 60s.
I don't know. I was probably maybe 13 or 14, but that was a big deal to me.
I guess.
Yeah. Did transistors work off of batteries? Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you have your favorite rock and roll stations then that you pulled in to listen to the music?
Oh yeah, WSAI Cincinnati. Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Did you stay up late at night listening to your radio?
I probably did. Yeah. Actually, one of the best disc jockeys on that radio station just passed away last year. His name was Jim Scott. Yep.
Well, a lot of fun memories. Yeah, the transistor really changed the opportunities for kids or teenagers to be independent, away from the music of their parents too.
Right.
What? You are from a different area of the country than we are, and so I'm wondering, were there traditional foods from that part of the country in which that were served at Christmas time?
We had deviled eggs. Do you use deviled eggs out there?
Oh yeah.
Easter time. Yeah.
Okay. We use them year round.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do too.
And I think they had a lot of ham. I'm not a meat person, so that kind of stuff didn't interest me. But I was more into the vegetables, which we always had corn and mashed potatoes.
Sure.
I don't think what else. might have fixed it, might be different.
Maybe.
Any special desserts or ethnic foods?
No, not that I can think of. I
Okay.
can remember eating beans and cornbread a lot at my grandparents' house.
What
How
kind of beans?
yeah, well, how are the beans prepared?
They're pinto beans.
Okay.
Just cook them in a pan, boil them till they're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And was the cornbread, did you ever call it Johnny cake?
No, are you talking about the fried cakes?
No, the cornbread.
Even cornbread, I guess we would call it either corn with mom baked it in a pan. We'd call it either cornbread or Johnny cakes. And I guess that was Johnny cake, I think was a term that came up, I think, in third grade history in country school.
Okay.
And it was reminded me of cornbread. So maybe that's why I started calling them Johnny cakes. But would you explain what a Johnny cake is?
I don't really know. I've heard
Didn't-
that, but
I thought that came about during the Civil War, but I might be wrong about that.
Oh, because
Well,
of Johnny
yeah.
Rebel.
Maybe,
Probably.
yeah. So,
Uh-huh.
viewers, if
We
you
do
can comment about this, please do.
Mhm.
we do fried corn. And you take the cornmeal, instead of putting it in a, I always use a rod, the iron skillets for my cornbread that I bake in the oven. But these are fried on top of the stove. You just
Oh.
take the cornbread mix and just kind of make a pancake almost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then flip it.
Yeah, and then flip it. And
Do you-
we just call it fried cornbread.
Do you serve it with butter and maple syrup?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you, in that vicinity, and let's say in Kentucky, do people mostly use white corn or yellow corn meal?
I'd say yellow probably.
Okay.
Mhm. I don't know where is white corn even used more often? Do you know?
Well, my friend who is from Kentucky said that they always used white because the yellow corn meal was used for, sorry about this is what she said, for lower class people.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well,
That's what she said.
we've used yellow for all our lives.
I know. I didn't know there was white until she said they use white all the time. They'd never use yellow. Okay.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. It's the first time and only time I've heard about that.
Yes.
I'd say the yellow corn is more available.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Hmm. Yep. Did you ever garden as a youngster?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had a garden. Actually, we didn't have room at the places we lived when I was a kid, but when we lived in St. Bernard, there was an area, and I couldn't tell you how big it was, maybe an acre, maybe two, and it was like I want to say a community garden, but everybody had a certain amount of space, and you could plant your stuff, and I remember going over there and helping Dad with that. Yep.
Oh, yes. Do you like to garden today, or is that not on your to-do list?
I just can't.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just don't want to. So we're in the same chapter of the book.
Yeah, we gave that up a few years ago. Our son typically raises a garden, and he said, I'll just plant enough and share with you.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Children are pretty special, aren't they?
Yes.
They certainly are.
When they do that.
Yeah.
Well, Darlene, we're nearing the end of our fun chat, and if there is one item that comes to mind about the 1950s in your life, can you tell us about that?
That's a highlight of the 50s.
I just spending time at my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I was I was the oldest grandchild. Maybe that makes a difference. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they taught me so much. I helped my grandma. She taught me how to can and cook and clean. And I just the time I spent with them was awesome.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today, Darlene.
You're welcome.
Great. Yes.
Yes.
Jackie,
So thank you for that glimpse of another 1950s life.
that's right.
So, folks, do tell your friends and even your relatives about this 1950s fun chat. So until next time,